Months of speculation, endless leaks, the unbearable hype. The stage was set for another iconic Apple moment. But in a world saturated with information, can a giant still truly surprise us?
But did Apple actually deliver the awe? Or did the internet already spoil the surprise?
This year, Apple didn't just upgrade, they split the future in two. On one side, the impossibly thin iPhone Air, a monument to minimalist design. On the other, the powerful, unapologetic iPhone Pro, built for raw performance. And with only $100 between them, a choice had to be made.
From bold design choices to shocking omissions, this launch didn't just introduce new devices, it sparked a firestorm.
And the internet erupted. The new Pro design became the most divisive Apple product in years. Ugly versus industrial. Sleek versus serious. And one glaring omission, the lack of a classic black color, united critics in confusion. Was this a bold step forward or a costly misstep?
All right, so let's get into it. Apple just had its big, awe-dropping launch event. You know the drill, months of speculation, leaks, and hype, all leading up to this one moment. So the real question is, did Apple actually manage to deliver the awe? Did any jaws, actually drop? Let's peel back the curtain and see what was really going on.
This comment from an online forum pretty much nails the vibe going into the big day. Seriously, with so many rumors and super detailed leaks floating around for months, it kind of felt like we'd already seen the whole show. It really makes you wonder, right? In a world where we have nonstop information, can a giant like Apple actually surprise us anymore?
To figure that out, let's start with the hype itself. We're going to look at the biggest, juiciest rumors that were swirling around before the event, and then we'll compare them to what Tim Cook and the team actually showed off on stage.
And wow, the rumor mill was working overtime. The headliner, the one everyone was talking about, was this supposedly impossibly thin new iPhone, the Air. Then there was talk about a huge redesign for the Pro model that ditches titanium, massive camera upgrades everywhere, and some pretty big new features for AirPods and the Apple Watch. So let's start where Apple did, with the wearables.
So Apple kicked things off with updates to its super popular wearable lineup. This is usually where they try out new health tech and really push what these tiny little gadgets can do. So what do we get this time?
The upgrades here were pretty clear and focused. For the AirPods Pro 3, the big news is live translation, powered by Apple Intelligence, and a new heart rate monitor, which pushes them even further into the fitness world. At the same time, the Apple Watch Series 11 finally gets that 24-hour battery life people have been asking for, plus new health alerts for hypertension and a daily sleep score. These are solid, really practical updates that just keep building out Apple's whole personal health ecosystem.
Well, let's just pause on this number for a second, because it's a huge claim from Apple. They are saying the new AirPods Pro 3 have two times the active noise canceling of the last generation. Now, for anyone who uses these in a noisy office or on a plane, that is a massive, tangible upgrade. That alone could make these a must-buy.
And that, of course, brings us to the main event, the iPhones. And this year wasn't just, a small spec bump. Oh no, Apple completely changed the structure of its lineup. They introduced a brand new player and a whole new strategy. So here it is, the brand new iPhone 17 family. You've got your base model, the Pro, and the Pro Max, all expected. But the big twist is right there in the middle. The Plus model, the one that gave you a big screen without all the Pro features, it's gone. And in its place, the all-new iPhone 17 Air. So where does this new Air model actually fit in? Well, it's not just a bigger version of the base iPhone. Apple is positioning this as a premium device that's all about one thing, its crazy thin design. But that comes with trade-offs, like a single camera on the back and a smaller battery than the Pro models. It creates a really clear choice for people. This comparison right here, this is the heart of Apple's new strategy. On one side, you've got the iPhone Air, sold as this incredible feat of design. On the other, the iPhone 17 Pro, which is all about raw, unapologetic power. And just look at that pricing. Only $100 separates them. Apple is forcing a very specific choice. Do you care more about form or do you care more about function?
And for anyone trying to make that choice right now, here's the official schedule. Pre-orders kick off this Friday, September 12th, and the phones will be in stores a week after that on September 19th.
But really, the reveal was only half the story. As soon as the products were announced, the internet did what the internet does best. It had a lot of opinions, and the new Pro model specifically kicked off a really passionate and deeply divided debate.
The reaction was immediate, and in some cases, pretty darn blunt. This user's comment kind of sums up a big chunk of the initial feedback. The new design, with that bigger camera bump and the unibody aluminum frame, it was a huge change, and let's just say, not everyone was on board.
But just as fast, the other side showed up. This person saw the new design as a huge plus, comparing it to that rugged, functional look of the Apple Watch Ultra. And this split, ugly versus industrial, sleek versus serious, that became the main theme of the whole conversation.
But if there was one thing that brought almost everyone together, it was this. In a move that honestly no one saw coming, Apple decided not to release the new Pro models in a standard black or dark gray color. For a phone with Pro in the name, getting rid of the most classic, professional color was, well, it was a choice.
The online chatter really came down to a few key things. By far, the number one point of contention was the lack of a black color option. After that was the change in material, the switch back to aluminum from titanium. And finally, people were just really focused on the look of that new camera module itself. This comment right here shows that the community has a long memory. For years, Apple marketed titanium as the premium, stronger, lighter material, so the switch back to a new aluminum design felt like a total 180. Apple says it's to improve cooling and fit a bigger battery, but a lot of users were skeptical, thinking it might just be a way to cut costs. The camera system also came with its own trade-off. Now, the upgrade is huge, don't get me wrong. All 3 lenses on the back are now 48 megapixels, and that telephoto lens goes to an incredible 8x optical zoom, the longest ever on an iPhone. But, and it's a big but for some people, to get there, a few sharp-eyed users noticed that the super useful 5x optical zoom from last year is gone. It creates a new gap in the zoom range, so you get more reach but maybe a little less versatility. So, after all the hype, all the reveals, and all the fiery debates, what's the final verdict? What does this whole launch tell us about where Apple is heading and what people are actually excited about?
So, what was the final word from the internet? Well, a pretty clear picture emerges. The biggest winner of the whole event seems to be the iPhone Air. Its design got tons of praise. That's followed really closely by all the criticism of the Pro's color options. And yeah, there's definitely excitement for the new camera's power, but a small but loud group just felt the overall Pro upgrade was, whelming.
What this all points to is the key takeaway from this whole thing. Apple has intentionally split its lineup. They are making a very clear bet that there are 2 different kinds of premium customers out there. People who will pay for an amazing design, even with some compromises, and people who will pay for the absolute best performance, no matter what it looks like.
Which leaves us with the big unanswered question from this whole event. Is the iPhone Air a bold, brilliant new direction for Apple? One that prioritizes how a phone feels in a world of spec-heavy bricks? Or is it just an expensive gimmick, a phone that sacrifices too much real-world function just for the sake of being thin? That is the question we'll all be watching to see answered over the next year. Thanks for joining me.
So here's the real question. Is Apple redefining the future or just selling us an expensive illusion? So, what's the final verdict? The winner was clear, but the question remains. Is the iPhone Air a bold new direction, prioritizing how a phone feels in your hand in a world of spec-heavy bricks? Or is it merely an expensive gimmick, a beautiful device that sacrifices too much function just for the sake of being thin? The answer will define Apple's next decade.